Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Happy Death Day to You. So, some of you may be wondering, okay, why are you reacting to a movie today? Well, the answer is pretty simple. It's a donation request. See, when people donate, it's not just like different anime and cartoon series like you see on Wednesdays. It's also movies and YouTube series and stuff as well, which is what the critique of Outlast series is. So, movies obviously aren't as easy to get to, though, in terms of reactions, just because they take a lot longer and they take a lot more effort to record and get done and all. So I haven't been able to get to too many of them since the last mega stream, but we're starting to get to them today. So Happy Death Day to You is a sequel movie. I have seen the first one. In fact, I reacted to the first one. It should still be on the channel. Happy Death Day to You is the sequel to the first one. And I don't know much of anything about what the story's going to be. I assume it's the same characters, but otherwise I know nothing about it. So the first movie was all about this girl who basically, it was basically kind of like this Groundhog's Day of death. She kept dying over and over, but every time she died, she got reset to a certain point. And the problem is, she had to figure out who the killer was in order to stop the loop. And I think there was like one or two occasions where like her friends were killed and she had to reset the loop just to save them, basically. And eventually she became kind of desensitized to it, almost to the point of like being completely ridiculous and silly. Like, there was one point where she actually just walked out of the dorm room completely buck naked. And it was like, what the fuck? The movie actually mixed horror and comedy really well, which is something I don't really see a lot of. Some people will say that Friday the 13th, or not Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. I always mix those two up for some strange reason. Just the names, mind you. But some people say Nightmare on Elm Street is a good blend of horror and comedy, but I disagree. I don't think the comedy is good in the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, which is why I never really liked Freddy Krueger or the movies in general, except for the remake, which takes it much more seriously. And in general, I'm just not really a huge fan of horror comedy. Horror comedy, in my opinion, is just very rarely done right. And for the most part, it's just not funny. Because horror isn't funny, and it's not meant to be funny. But there are some rare occasions where you can insert some good comedy into a horror film. The Scream movies actually do that exceptionally well. The Scream movies are kind of the pinnacle of horror comedy. Yeah, they are definitely much more horror, specifically the slasher genre, but they have a lot of comedy to them as well, especially in regards to the meta jokes. But yeah, it's like, it's rarely ever, in my opinion, done right. But then again, I guess you could call me a horror snob, because I'm very, very picky about horror, and most of the time I don't like most horror because I don't think it's good. But yeah, Happy Death Day to You, again, sequel of the original Happy Death Day. The original one was really good. It even had some good heartfelt moments, some likable characters, and just really made you, like, invested in the world and the story. So I'm hoping the second one does more of that. When it was coming to theaters, I did see trailers for it, and I know that it seems to be almost, again, just from what I remember of the trailers, but they might have just been advertising it that way, it seemed to be more silly in a way, like it was like actually embracing the goofy side of it all, which as long as they do it right, I'm fine with. But I don't want them to lose the tension either, because the first film did have some good tension in it. And some good, like, horror moments. You got to remember, it's a horror comedy. It has to have elements of both. So I don't want it to just be pure comedy here. But yeah, this was a donation request from Everett Taves. And as such, he has given me the funds available to be able to just rent it on YouTube. So it's going to be pretty high quality. And we shouldn't have any issues while watching it in general. But I do have to get into it because it is a Thursday, and I am going to the bar tonight, as I tend to do on mostly every Thursday. So I do have to get on with this, and I'm excited. So let's do it. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. What did I just say? Did I say description? Description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts, and will contain spoilers to the movie. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, in the pre-thoughts, I mentioned how I was hoping that this one would continue to balance out the comedy and horror aspects of it. Honestly, thinking about it, it's not really straight horror, it's more thriller. It's more of a slasher thriller than an actual straight horror. But either way, I think this actually did succeed at that. It really did succeed at balancing it out well. There was still quite a lot of tension, and even not just with the killer. There was also just tension with getting her back to her own reality and everything. Just like how in the first movie we saw Tree have to have this like montage sequence of the deaths and stuff. We saw that again in this one, except this time there was, I guess you could say, a bigger purpose to it. She had to kill herself instead of just continuously being killed and dying over and over. So it was definitely a little different, and they definitely went with some unique ways. Probably my favorite would have to be, just off the top of my head, would have to be the airplane one. Just because of just how ridiculously silly it was. It's like, okay, we're parachuting out of an airplane. That's completely fair. That's completely normal. So she just shows up in a bikini and just like drops out. Just like falls backward out and lands right in front of Danielle and what's his face? Why can I not think of his name right now? Lands right in front of them, but right before she lands and dies, goes splat and everything, it slows down, and she's like in this like specific position, like giving this like tongue out double middle finger thing. It was hilarious. Now this movie started with its first act being centered around a different character than Tree, but then it kind of it centered around Ryan, and then kind of switched to Tree after Ryan accidentally kind of fucked up and put her back into the time loop. So that in and of itself is interesting, but I kind of wish it had remained with Ryan as the focus. I think that would have kept it feeling a little more, focused throughout the entire thing. What I'm saying is that by having you do that sudden switch back to Tree and then having her be the focus for the rest of the movie, it kind of felt like just like a sudden switch. Literally. It just felt like you suddenly switched the direction of the movie to a completely different spot, and it kind of came across as a little unnatural. If anything, that is my biggest complaint about the movie. If they wanted to continue to focus on Tree, they should have done that more from the beginning. But early on, it was completely focused on Ryan. Like, it was kind of painting him as the main character. And switching to Tree like that didn't come across as any kind of clever or fun twist. I mean, it was a twist, but it just came across as really weird and random, just in its execution. So I think that they either could have handled that better, made it felt more natural, or at least, once again, kept to one or the other. Ryan, now that we've actually gotten to see him as an actual character and not just a running gag like from the first movie, I like him. Ryan is pretty cool. He's a science nerd, but also just in general, it seems he's a bit of a nerd as well. He's a really nice guy. He's helpful. And yeah, I enjoy him. I think he's cool. And his friends, I like them as well. Samir, or whatever his name is, I could just look up their names, you know? Just to be safe, so I'm not, like, just messing up their names or, like, just completely forgetting them in some cases. Carter, by the way, is the boyfriend. Samar. I was close. Samar is definitely the dumb friend archetype. He definitely comes across as the dumb friend. He does some stupid, silly things, and he's clearly not... He's smart. He's obviously very scientifically gifted. He's just not as generally intelligent as everyone else. Like, why would you fucking eat a churro that you found on the ground? Who knows how long that's fucking been there? That's not okay. That's not okay. I love churros, but no, you don't do that. Then we have the girl who is there as well, who I'm trying to figure out her name here. Because I don't think I really mentioned her name. Also, Ruby Modine, the one I mentioned, was Lori. I'm trying to figure out the girl, though. Because, like, she's not listed in, like, the main named cast. Let me just look up here. Dre? Well, it's listing a group of the names from the post-credit scene who are escorted to the lab. And I guess it would have to be Dre. So, where's Dre? Dre Morgan. Sarah Yarkin? Let me just make sure. I mean, at this point, I think it is, but... Oh, yeah, that's definitely her. Okay, so, Dre Morgan is her name. She was really cute. Like, I don't care what anyone says. I thought she was really freaking cute. And kind of hilarious, too. She kind of had almost the straight man personality of their group. With, obviously, Samar being the idiot, and with Ryan kind of being the... well, I don't know what I'd classify him as. I don't know if I'd really classify him as anything specific, because he's not an idiot by any means, but he's also not, like, the most, like, intelligent, I guess, of them, if you know what I mean. But either way, yeah, I really liked her as a character. She was really fun. I liked the Dean. The Dean was good. And yeah, so... There were some interesting choices made with this one. The fact that the time loop was created via a science project by Ryan and his friends is fascinating, actually. That's really fascinating, and it explains the blackout from the first movie. Like, that was something that I don't think was actually explained, and we never really got an answer to. So, we get an explanation for that. And it is also the source of the time loop. So, that's just great. So we have this machine, Sissy, as it's called, created by Ryan and his friends, and it's purpose was, like, I guess, to slow down time or whatnot, but in the end, it accidentally created a time loop around Tree. So in this one, it accidentally creates a time loop for Ryan, but then when they're trying to fix things, it's switched to Tree, and she has to go through everything all over again. And this time, when it switches to Tree, it also teleports her to an alternate world, like an alternate dimension. I love how they brought in the multiverse theory to all of this, because that's been used in, like, comics and all kinds of stuff for, like, ever. So it's great that we get to see that in here. I've always loved the multiverse idea, so it's great we get to see that here. I mean, technically, I guess you could say it's in Stranger Things, because I guess you could technically count the Upside Down as another universe, an alternate world. But yeah. So I like how in this one, the killer is one of the people I suspected in the first movie, one of my biggest suspects from the first movie. It's the doctor. But the bigger twist is that his wife is in on it too, which I really did not expect. I did not expect that she would be in on it, especially after it's revealed that he was doing it because of the cheating thing and everything. Which, by the way, when it did show the like argument he was having with his wife and all, it's like I did notice that. I noticed that like right away. I don't think I said anything, but so it's like it's just kind of like last time with the cupcake coming back to big relevance, kind of something that you don't really think a lot about. That did come back, and it's like cool. I like how the multiverse theory is brought in, like I said, but I like how this alternate universe is basically one of the ideas behind that. Like with the multiverse theory, a lot of the universes in that kind of, idea, I guess you could just say. A lot of times the alternate universes can either be excessively different, like the Gaslight universe in Batman, or they can end up being just small little details changed around. And that's the kind of one they went for here. Just the small little details changed around. Carter is with Danielle, for example. Laurie is just good. Danielle's good as well, aside from Danielle cheating on Carter and everything. And of course, Tree's mother being alive. Just these little notable changes that make it clear it's an alternate universe. But at the same time, don't like blast it out everywhere. It's not like this massive, huge difference. I kind of actually prefer that kind of thing, especially I feel like in a movie like this. I feel it works better than if they had just something completely different. So I like that. Like I said, I like the new characters that were introduced. I thought they did really well. And the old characters who were brought back, I thought also performed really well. I really think Laurie and Danielle's actresses continue to impress. The ending, though, the post-credits ending, with them being picked up by the military group and everything and being brought back because of their project, because of Sissy, and they're going to be testing it on Danielle, like that seriously opens it up for a third movie. And I actually kind of hope that they make that. But at the same time, there's questions on where would that go then? If a third movie is made and it does center around Danielle being in the time loop, what's going to happen? Is she going to, like, instead of there being a killer, is she just going to try and hunt down, after presumably finding out, hunt down, I guess you could just call them our team, our squad, and try to kill them or something? There's a lot of questions that kind of plays with, like, if they do make a third movie, exactly what are they going to do with it? But yeah, like I said, my only real issue is the thing with switching focuses from Ryan back to Tree. I just felt like it was unnaturally handled. And honestly, I would have liked if this movie focused entirely on Ryan, with Tree more as a supporting character this time. But yeah, I really had fun with this. I thought this was a great movie and a fantastic follow-up. Like, a lot of times, a sequel, especially to a movie as good as Happy Death Day, won't be as good. It'll have little issues here and there. It just won't live up to the original. This one did. This one very much did. This felt like a very good, natural follow-up to the first movie. All of the actors were still great. The story was still great. And yes, it went in some much more extravagantly over-the-top paths with its story. But still, I don't think it felt out of the ordinary. It didn't feel just completely random or unbelievable for this world that they've built. So I can accept it. But thank you to Everett for donating for me to react to this. I really did enjoy this. I will be reacting to the other movies for the donation rewards when I can get to them. I can't promise any days or times or anything. I have no idea, just whenever I'll be able to get to them. But yeah, I really thought this was great, and I'm really glad to have finally gotten to see it, because honestly, I've really wanted to see it, and I'm glad that I finally did. So, yeah, thank you so much. Tell me your thoughts down in the comments below. I'm sure you're going to write another book report, Everett. I can't wait to hear what you all think of this movie, especially in comparison with the first. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
And though you've come through many obstacles,